Hi, welcome to another video with me, Tanya Ross of TDR Academy of Movement and Therapy. Today, the video that I'm bringing you is to do with the nervous system. So if you have had, for example, any nervy symptoms, which can generally just be pain, generally sharp pain, you can have gnawing pains which are like a dull, almost like a toothache going through the body. But also some of the very specific sensations would be pins and needles, like a zingy, tingling feeling, pins and needles running down the length of a limb or maybe just at certain parts. But also it could be a numbness, it could be an itching, scratching sensation, but very common would be pins and needles and like a zingy sort of feeling. If you're getting symptoms like that, then it's more than likely that it's nerve. It's not always conclusive because sometimes loss of blood flow can mimic also certain sensations of nerves. But in terms of when you come into a clinic with a therapist that can deal with nerve tissue, we do have a certain range of movements which we can use for diagnostic testing. Any testing within a clinic is never 100% conclusive, but it does help to give us an informed guesstimate as to whether some of those tissues are involved in the complaint that you have. So from that point of view, these nerve movements, sometimes they're called nerve sliders, nerve tensioners, nerve flossing. I like flossing because for me, in my mind, it just portrays this image of the tissues being glided through, as opposed to like a nerve tensioner would be like a stretch, like a muscular stretch, but it can also be neural tension on a stretch. So sometimes it's good to have a visual in your own mind of what can happen through the tissues, even if it's maybe not 100% accurate. But if I had you in the clinic and you were presenting with some of those symptoms, I would be wanting to take you through some nerve tension tests to see if it reproduces those symptoms. And if it does, well then we know that there is some implication linked with those nerves. And what we can do then, for example, we can look at the joints, we can look at the muscles, but if it is just a neural tensioner that provides us with some results, then sometimes taking it into nerve sliders or nerve flossing can alleviate some of those symptoms. There may be other facets that need to be involved with the treatment of that, and that's where you definitely need to see a medical professional. But I'm hoping that this information just gives you maybe a little bit of a clue of whether you need to see a treatment professional or whether some of these movements that I'm going to show you in that sequence of videos, whether they may be helpful to you. In terms of how to actually go through these movements, I'm going to provide you with videos of some simple self-tests that you can do. Again, they're not 100% conclusive, but again, they might give you some information. And that little bit of information, if you get the nervy symptoms, then you can try some of the nerve movements and the nerve flossing, the nerve sliders that I will provide in the other videos. The key thing with them is that I don't want you to feel anything. So whenever you're doing them, like if you imagine if you go into a stretch and you feel the tension build and you might feel like what might feel like pain, but it's a stretch sensation. With nerve sliders, you don't want to feel that because we're not tensioning the nerve. So if you do get any sensations, you want to almost kind of edge back short of that. And that way then you're not pushing into the potential irritation. So when we're moving, we want to try to keep them fairly rhythmical. They're not strong, they're not forceful. They're just fairly rhythmical. And also maybe only around about 10 to start with, but you could progress over the course of each day and over the course of a week and start to build up to maybe 20 of each movement. And maybe pick 3 or 4 movements for the one nerve. They can be done in a batch or they can be done spread out throughout the day. If you're getting any symptoms, then certainly try them and see whether that can help to alleviate them. Everything is almost like it's a trial and effort to see whether there's any change. So if we get results, then we know that it's almost like there's structural differentiation that we're working through. And if we get results, then we know that the nervous tissue is responding to what you try. So I hope that makes sense. I could talk myself around in that all day, but I'm hoping that makes sense to understand it, so that it's enough that you can maybe have a go at this at home. But remember, nothing's conclusive. It's trial and error with a little bit of effort to see what happens. And as long as it doesn't irritate anything, where you're going to stay out of pain, you're going to stay out of any symptoms, but then you might notice over time that your symptoms lessen. But if there's any irritation that goes further, make sure you do see a medical professional. And that could just be anybody that is trained and qualified to work with the nervous system. It doesn't always have to be a physio or a chiropractor or an osteopath. It can be a massage therapist that is qualified to the suitable standard. So I'm hoping you find this information useful. Please check out our other testing videos as well as the actual videos to help with those movements and see how you get on. Certainly I'd love to hear back from you. Like the video if you've liked it, leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified of other videos that we're going to bring out to you. Thanks for watching.